Welcome back to another 5-minute mobility with Coach Nate. In this mobility piece, we will be working on the lizard, the twisted lizard, and the hamstring. First stretch here is the lizard stretch. So what we're trying to do is get underneath the inner hamstring, the groin. We're going to work around into that back hip flexor, digging down with the elbow, getting nice and deep in there. You'll notice that I was taking a drink right before we started. What I wanted to emphasize here is that if you're doing this workout, this stretch right after your workout, you're going to want to get your post-workout nutrition in every single time. So make sure that you're always making a plan for that, planning ahead and having that taken care of. You'll see that I'm digging in deep here. I kind of pushed out on the leg. I can rotate as such, give you a little bit of back stretch, a little bit of different angles on each of these stretches here in a second. So we're going to go 1 minute on each of these 3 stretches on each side. So as I feel like I'm getting looser in there, I start to get that hip a little bit of the groin, finish it off nice and deep. Then I'm going to reach back with my hand, grab my foot, and go into what we call the twisted lizard. So now here we're emphasizing the quad, the hip again. Once again, you see I rotate a little bit, get some of that hip involved, get a good stretch all through the hip flexor and everything else. You can see that I have my iPad down there. So we also wanted to emphasize through this video that we want to make this a part of your daily routine. So by having the iPad or your phone, you can watch along to this video and be stretching while listening. You could have a second device and you could be texting, you could be emailing, you could do just about anything, watching videos. I try not to waste time in my day. So anytime that I'm going to be on my phone or I'm going to watch a clip or a video, I try to get down on the floor and get in some type of stretching. As I drive that hip in, you can see that it starts to loosen. I've got a nice straight line from the shoulder to the hip to the knee. I could apply pressure through the foot back into the hand to fire the quad and then relax to get some more stretch. I give that hip one last little stretch and then I'm going to kick the front leg out and we move into the hamstring here. So if you're very flexible, you'll be able to get into the deep hamstring. You'll be able to get almost right out into the splits. As you see, I'm going to dive into the head down a little bit, leaning side to side, get the gracilis, the inner hamstrings, a little bit of the IT band even. Give myself a really good stretch all through the different layers of the hamstring. You might have noticed that I reached down and pulled on the foot. That's going to give me a little bit more into the calf, the gastrocnemius and the soleus, those kind of things, just to get a little bit deeper into the stretch. Again, like you see, I'm moving around, I'm kind of digging into the corners, being a little bit active through the stretch so that I'm focused on what I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm still able to pay attention to a video or a movie, maybe some funny memes, those kind of things, just to keep it part of your day. As we switch sides over here, I gave a quick little hip flexor, and then now I'm dropping deep into that lizard. So from this side, you get a little bit different angle. You kind of see that I've got a good shin angle pushing out just ahead of the toe. Hopefully you can kind of tell that I'm driving the knee outside to the outside edge of the foot. And I bring that elbow down to get nice and low. Once again, a little bit of rotation for the low back. I'll kind of move in and out of that rotation just to get a little more stretch each time. Finding those angles. In this open angle, you're going to get a lot into the groin and inner hip flexor, that kind of area. See how the back foot moves around with it. I'm kind of actively stretching all the time. You could passively sit into one single position and just focus on your breathing as well. I find for me, it helps for me to dig around into each of the corners. From here, just like last time, we're going to take that hand, we're going to reach it back and grab onto the foot. So again, you see that it's the foot that is in front. That hand reaches back to grab onto the foot. I've planted my off hand for a nice balance to create a nice straight line from that left shoulder to left hip to left knee. If I sit the hips back too far, I'm shutting off the hip flexor. And oftentimes we see that position for people. Maybe they're getting a little bit of a quad stretch, but they're not engaging the hip into the stretch as well. Working those angles, a little bit more in the groin again here. Dig down, pushing the hip through. I'll push my foot into my hand to fire the quad and the whole system through there, and then relax and give it a little bit more stretch, maybe a little bit of pulse as I stretch into that depth. You'll see I look around. I'm checking the time, but also I find I get a good back stretch through that region as well. coming up on 5 minutes here. We're going to adjust, release that, again, one last little stretch, and then I throw that foot out front for the hamstring. Everyone's a little different. You're going to find, depending on what your training was on that day, you're going to have a slightly different tendency to have tight muscles in different areas. For me, sometimes it's the lateral hamstring if I've been doing lots of running. If it's been lots of squatting or wall balls or those type of things, then it would be the inner hamstring that gets me often. Again, adding the foot, getting a little bit of the calf involved, digging around, staying balanced and solid through my hands helps as well. If I'm trying to keep my balance with my hands up in the air, it makes it really hard for me to focus on keeping a nice deep stretch at the same time as keeping my balance. Again, a little bit of pulse in the leg just to get some extra stretch. Get a little chuckle out of whatever I'm watching. I'm going to pause it down and then I'll come and chat with you guys. There we have it. That was 6 minutes, obviously. Just 3 quick stretches on each side. We got the underneath the hamstrings in that first lizard stretch. Twisted lizard gets the quad and the hip flexor, and then the hamstring at the end to finish it all off. That's a good, quick little flow. If you've got more time, you can add into one of the other videos, follow along, and give yourself a real good stretch. Good luck, guys.